It's difficult, but it's not a surprise. When we were first hit with this and states like New York and New Jersey were faced with it, we really didn't know what we were doing. And then we talked all about contact tracing and mass testing, but we didn't do it. So isn't the situation we're in right now predictable and unavoidable? But alas, here we are.
Well, I think there were a lot of states that felt that they could manage a certain level of infection and sort of keep it within some band, because a lot of these states reopened against the backdrop of a lot of infection. California did that. Florida did that. Texas did that. They never really drove the infection down and crushed their virus like we've done here in the Northeast. And so it was only one place to go. It was going to go up. I think that they felt they could manage it and keep it at bay. But this is a very contagious virus, and what it's demonstrated is it doesn't want to be controlled. And so I think that's the lesson we need to take away from this. You really need to crush the infection. That's what other countries have done. They've driven the levels down, and then they've been able to use contact tracing and testing to keep it down. But once you have this level of infection, once you're turning over 10,000 cases a day in Florida, that exhausts your ability to do contact tracing. It's exhausting their ability to do testing. And so you can't function at these levels of infection and think that you can keep it at a certain level. They're experiencing exponential growth right now, and it's not clear what the backstop's going to be. It's going to have to be probably the collective action of individual people just withdrawing and engaging in much more careful behavior to quell the spread.
So what do we need? A national mask mandate? We shut down again? I mean, 2 weeks ago, Stephen Mnuchin said we're not shutting the economy down.
Yeah, I think the reality is these governors are not going to shut their economies down and issue stay-at-home orders. I think we're just not going to see it. So there's no point in speculating about something that they're not willing to do politically. I think we need a mask mandate. I think these states should mandate masks. CDC should change its guidance and recommend mask wearing anytime you're in a public setting, not just when you don't think you can socially distance, because you don't know when you can socially distance. And these states should implement mandates. Look, we mandate seatbelts. We do that to protect the passengers, and we do that to lower insurance premiums. I think in the setting of an epidemic with a deadly pathogen, we can mandate that you have to wear a mask when you go outside your house. If it's a choice between wearing a mask all the time and having to close schools, which is what's going to happen, I'd rather, tell the population, please wear a mask for the next 6 months. We're going to get through this one way or the other. We're either going to get a vaccine or we're going to get to herd immunity. This is going to play out over the next 6 months. For that period of time, we have to ask ourselves what we're willing to do on an individual basis to make sure we can preserve those things that are most important. What's most important? Keeping schools open, trying to keep businesses operating, keeping people at work. But first thing I'd want to do is open those schools. And in these states, they're going to have a hard time doing that against the backdrop of all this spread.
Then what is the rationale not to wear masks across the board? When you talk about schools, businesses, and all of the above, we don't want to stay shut down. What's the argument to not have everyone wearing masks? We're all wearing seatbelts, as you said.
Well, I'm hard-pressed to channel the argument why you wouldn't put a mask mandate in place. Somehow this has gotten mixed up into a discussion around people's individual liberty. And I think there's also a discussion about, well, how would you enforce it? You'd have to fine people. That's not necessarily true. I mean, you could put a mandate in place and you can tell people they have to wear it and they'd be denied service. Businesses and other venues have an opportunity to deny them service. And, they might be issued a warning if they go out in public in a at-risk setting without a mask on. You don't have to impose a fine. You don't have to put people in jail like Singapore has done. So there's ways to do this that aren't as intrusive, aren't seen as government imposing burdens on people, significant burdens on people. I don't know why we haven't done it. I think we'll do it. We'll get there, but hopefully sooner rather than later, because, it's getting a little late. It's going to be hard to implement measures now that can reverse these trends that are underway. We hopefully will be able to do it, but it's going to take time. There's no one thing that these states can do right now that's going to have a dramatic impact in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.